Hey y'all, it's your boy Clint. Today's video, I'm gonna do something very different than usual. As you can tell, I'm sitting down. I'm not in my seat. I'm not podcasting. This is an actual just video. Something pretty serious, I would like to think. I want to talk about loneliness today. And I'm gonna be honest. I came home tonight, and I don't know. It just stuck in my head, and I'm like, I felt like I need to make a video about it. I believe in making what's on your mind, not forcing shit, just to actually display on your channel what you truly resemble. I don't believe in doing trendy things. I don't believe in doing things that just to get views, and honestly being authentic. And loneliness is, I think, something that a lot of people, and I'm going to say everyone at some point in their life deals with it. Some people for varying degrees than others. But I'm not going to lie, I'm hesitant making this video, but I've pressed the record button, so it's kind of making me just do it. I want to start off by saying that but I really believe that loneliness does not equal unhappiness. When you hear loneliness, you think someone that's probably depressed, unhappy, someone that's, feeling alone in this world. And as we know, being alone, lonely doesn't equate to literally having no one in your life. Being lonely pretty much can mean you could have everything at your disposal. You have everything in reach. You can have a contact for everything that you need to reach out for someone. You can have one friend to talk about this. You can have your mom to talk about this, your brother, another friend, your dad, whatever, to talk about whatever specific thing that person may feel a void to actually, feel comfortable talking to them about it. But you could still feel lonely. I think the problem that a lot of people that are lonely feel, and I understand that talking about this subject, I'm going to by default end up talking about myself. I feel really lonely a lot of times. But I think by a lot of times I literally mean basically my whole life. I felt lonely in a sense. I don't have many friends. I would say as of right now, I only have one that I even relatively talk to on a relatively weekly basis. And I've justified to myself over my life that the reason why I don't have a lot of friends is just because it's who I am. I'm a loner. I get more done being isolated. I thrive more. You hear things like that. Or the one that I love hearing from people, because I've said it too, is that, oh, I do it because I don't like being around people. It's by choice. Is it, or is the choice kind of been made for you? So you have justified to yourself that this is just who I am. And that you just try to turn it into a positive, which is not a terrible thing to do, by the way. I think there's a lot of positive. I think one positive thing about being, quote unquote, a lonely person, being an isolated person, I understand those don't necessarily mean the same thing, but when I hear the word isolation, I think someone who's in isolation because more of a choice of theirs. When you hear lonely, it's like the choice has been made for them. But at the end of the day, it's still you feeling by yourself. It could be literally or figuratively. I think that we will justify to ourselves whatever puts us on a less vulnerable stage. Meaning, if we are someone that doesn't have a lot of friends, typically we would say, oh, well, that's just because I'm too real for them. I never say that shit, but, I'm too real. I can be too much to handle. I can be very standoffish. Or you just suck with people. And things you do make people not want to be around you. I think sometimes we hear loneliness and we think it's like this thing that it's okay. And it is okay. But there's an accountability that needs to be attached to why you feel lonely. And I'm going to speak from personal experience. I am someone that in groups, I do not thrive. I feel like maybe I have personally, not like in the literal sense self-destructive, like I've purposely like just been complete nonsensical, acted irrational in groups of people to stand out or nothing, or to justify why I don't gel with groups of people. I think it's just a thing that something about it, like something about me doesn't connect with most people. And one of the good things I think about a character trait like that is that you don't dive into peer pressure. A lot of people will just adapt to being in groups just because they're afraid of being lonely. So you will do things to stay in groups, or the stay in packs, or the stay friends with people, even if it's gone a little bit past things that you believe in, or things that push the envelope of what you actually look into a friendship per se, or a relationship with someone. And I think one of the great characteristics for someone like me, and someone that has those character traits of being lonely, is that I don't fall into peer pressure. And I think when you have the character traits to not be so easily pressured to do things that you don't want to do, it makes people think you're not fun. It makes people think that you're not willing to do things. It makes people have this perception, which honestly for the most part is true, that you're not really a cool hang. You're not really someone to try something new with. And when I identify things about myself, when you're alone with yourself, I would say one of the great things about being lonely is that you have a real good awareness of yourself. Because you're not clouded by people's judgments. You're not clouded by what people think in your inner circle. You literally have nothing but you to think to yourself. And someone like me, which I think benefits me for when I podcast and stuff like that, for example, is that I'm really good at talking to myself. And to a lot of people, that sounds like it's pretty unhealthy. It's because I don't really know how to talk to people in a general sense. I don't really... It's a combination of, I like to say that I don't care to really hear about nonsense from people, but the reality is I really don't know how to have a meaningful conversation with people. It's something I think I've kind of gotten better at recently, but I think a lot of that can kind of stem from the fact that my belief in everything, right? Every character trait as a human being. There's good and bad to literally any character trait. Like I said, one of the great things of being a lonely individual or a loner per se is that you have a really good self-awareness of yourself. You are not afraid to not get involved in things that you don't want to. You're not peer pressuring the things. And then, of course, the negative with that is you're just probably not going to have a lot of friends. Or if you do, it's going to be a very specific rolling type of friends. Meaning you're going to be seeking very specific things, which means it may feel transactional. Even if it's not, but it could feel that way. Where someone who is very outgoing, who's very social, they're very easygoing. They will try anything. They will live in the moment per se. Someone like that, they're probably going to be more likely to have applicable friends that actually want to be around them on a regular basis. Where someone like me or lonely people out there, we don't really get the regular, hey, want to come get drinks with me at 3 o'clock at some Mexican restaurant. You're not probably going to get those random Friday night group dinners where then you take pictures on Snapchat and clink drinks and say Friday vibes. You're not going to really get those calls. And it's a thing that I don't know for us loners, for us people that are lonely in this world, if that is just something we should accept, or there are things that we can do to feel more part of something, but it's not us. And I think I'm 25 years old, right? And I'm worried that I'm so far into this aspect of myself. It is something that I feel like I'm just starting to accept of myself. And I feel like I'm trying to get connected to the world in other ways, like YouTube, for example. Like, I don't do YouTube for fame. I don't do YouTube for money. I don't podcast for anything other than the fact that I enjoy it. But I think maybe subconsciously, maybe one thing that's stuck in my head, maybe I've started to do these things because I'm tired of being lonely. I want what I think out there. And since I don't get an everyday real interaction with human being, my way of doing it is for people to maybe come across it and get to know me. Because it's a way that I could actually connect with people without actually having to connect with people. And I feel like it's kind of been a reflection on my life, for example. Having the loneliness I have as a human being, where I say I prefer being by myself. I prefer this. And I think it's no coincidence that any girl I've ever been intimate with, I've never had a relationship last, I think, really 8 or 9 months. And I can tell you, not to toot my own horn, it's not because I'm not an interesting person. It's not because I don't have good perspective. It's not because I don't have a lot of thoughts on things. It's not because I'm not well thought out on a lot of things. It's quite the opposite. It's because I'm probably I have too much of a self-awareness to myself for my own good. Where someone my age, it's not really fun to be with someone in their early mid-20s when you're supposed to do all these fun things together and live life and shit, and you're over here calculating your every move, every step, and always being argumentative, always feeling like you gotta say what you gotta say to feel important. because you don't really get that out in everyday life, and you hit that 6 month mark and then shit always hits the fan, or 3 month mark. The honeymoon, once the honeymoon stage is over, it's over. And I can say it with laughter now, because, you can always look back and, hindsight and stuff like that. And you live and you learn. But I've kind of accepted that maybe I'm not someone that someone could be with on a long-term basis because of my personality, because of how I view things. And all that stems from loneliness. When I talk about loneliness, it's not even really about relationships with people. The struggle with loneliness is the fact that you don't really, you question how much control you actually have over the fact that you are lonely. Like I mentioned before, was the choice of you being lonely already made for you, or do you make the choice to be lonely? It's two different things. There's a difference between you cancel Friday, Saturday night plans with some friends because you just want to spend some time at home drawing to yourself. So you just want to spend at home chilling. You want a nap. You want to relax. There's a difference when you make a choice to not go out. You feel this power, like, I could go out, but I don't want to. And there's a power of saying no. It brings a lot of power to you as a human being. But when you don't even have the power to even have that choice, and no one's none of your friends even having you in consideration when they want to go do something fun. You could sit here and bitch about the fact that, oh, no one ever invites me out. It's like, well, maybe you're not really someone that's fun to go out with. And maybe that's like, for example, I've accepted myself. So I'm not going to be the life of the party per se. I'm very dry. I'm very comfortable in very small settings. And by small settings, I mean literally like maybe one other person. Anything above that, it just feels a little nauseous, to be honest. Like, it's just like, I think people overuse the term anxiety. I'm not going to say that. Of course, I get anxious about some things, but it ain't that serious. Like, I can overcome that. But I think we have this loneliness in this world that we've just kind of accepted because it's easier. It's easier just to convince ourselves that we're lonely because the world doesn't fit our view. There's a lot of things that go on in the world that don't fit my view, that don't fit my quote unquote moral compass. By the end of the day, you either adapt to your environment or you don't survive. That's literally how Darwinism is. You adapt to your environment or you don't survive. And like I said, like, going back to, I'm 25. And am I at that point where me being comfortable, being lonely, is it getting to that irreversible where it becomes literally who I am? I'm not a believer that you can't change at any age or anything like that. But if I start reaping the fruits of my labor caused by the fact that I've isolated myself from the world and shit, right? And I start receiving the fruits of the labor, well, I'm going to keep doing the same thing to reap the benefits of that. When is it where you're too far in? Where is it where you're just justifying to yourself why you're lonely? I feel like I felt like obviously everyone goes through phases in their life where they're lonely. And like I said before, loneliness does not equal unhappiness. You could be very happy and very lonely at the same time. You could also be the opposite of lonely. You be very unhappy. So obviously those don't always connect. One doesn't equal one, you know? But I do think that the idea of loneliness should be something that you should try to overcome. I don't think it is something to promote, to just go through this life in isolation. Because let me tell you, man, it is not fun. And the worst part, reason why it's not fun, because you can't even like ask for sympathy. You can't even really reach out. It's not really an attractive quality. So it's not like you're escaping from the herd and you stand out. You literally can't stand out because no one even sees you. And everyone could pretend they don't care to be seen, but everyone wants to at least be acknowledged for either their work or their opinions on something, whatever it may be. And when is it where you're so lonely where you feel disattached from society or the world in a general sense? I don't like to get too, I just want to feel part of the fabric to the world and all that. Like, no, like, that's not, whatever, man. If you want to do that, be my fucking guest. But what I mean by this is I'm afraid to become too disattached from the world that I literally lose track of who I am, Because you say what you want. Who you are as a person is built from your environment, people you surround yourself with, how you grew up, everything. Everything matters, obviously. And I'm afraid I'm going to get to that age or to that point where it's going to be mentally ingrained in me who I am. These are things that you think about when you've had a lot of failures of personal situations in life with people. And the worst part is when you look at it and you don't want to be too hard on yourself and self-loathe, but it's really on you. And on you, I literally mean on me. Man, like, I remember it happened fairly recently, like probably a year and a half, 2 ago. I was with someone, and on their break, we went to this little taco tequila restaurant, little place nearby where she worked. And a couple people from her job came, and we were having like tacos and shit. And to me, the lunch went normal. Like, I was myself. And it felt a little tense, but for me, I kind of thrive off tension. It kind of makes it interesting to me. But then after, like, driving back to the job, they were like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" I thought it was fine. I was having a decent day. And they're like, everyone was wondering, like, "Are you okay?" Like, you were a little tense. You were a little distant. You seemed like you didn't want to talk to anyone. And in my head, I really thought like it went normal. It went good. And that just shows like how blind I am to how much I don't connect to people. Like, and this isn't a video. I didn't make this video with the intention of sympathy or nothing like that. That's not what this is about. At least that's not the intention. The intention of this is that sometimes you could be so blinded by your ability to isolate that you truly forget. It's like if you've been in a coma for like 4 years and you just wake up and you try to walk on your legs probably aren't going to work. Atrophy. But even when your legs start working, you go outside and see sunlight for the first time in 4 years. Like, it's going to be a shock to your, like, you're not going to know how, it's going to take you a while to truly feel normal about it again. And it's kind of like how I'm starting to feel when it comes to connection with people. The thing is, I feel like I have a very strong connection with things that I think, how I operate as a human being. I feel like I'm very self-productive. But I don't really know how to enhance another person's life as a friend, girlfriend, family, mom, dad, like stuff like that, you know. I don't really know how to connect and love outside of myself. Like, it's kind of like this weird selfish thing. It's almost like, when I really think about it, I feel selfish for, even if I were, the reason why I haven't dated in over a year and a half or whatever, haven't really even been put myself out there. I haven't dated, talked to really anyone in that capacity. For simple fact of, like, I assess myself and I'm like, am I dating and am I only associating with girls that fill a void? You know, whether that's sexual, feminine energy that I want to connect with as a man. Like, but I would never promote to be single. This is the way to be. This is how you're most productive. It's like, nah, you just gotta learn how to chill the fuck out and, like, you know, learn to be yourself type of thing. And I guess the thing that I wonder is, when is it time to get back on the horse? I guess, like, to start getting back out there again as a human. Because I don't think this long, I've basically been a loner all my life. That doesn't mean I've never gone out. That doesn't mean I've never had fun and partied and shit. But when I do that, it's to an extreme that's not healthy for me. That's why I don't really drink, at least in a while, you know. That's why I only drink in social gatherings and shit. Because if I'm by myself, I'm going to try to fill that void of always feeling something outside of something that serves myself. And I wonder if, and I feel like a lot of people, when they interact with me, they feel like it ends up being transactional. Like, when people talk to me, I'm so interested in what they think. It sounds more like a Q&A than it does actually having good conversational skills. And I don't really know where to go from there. I don't know how to be interested in someone and not be curious about them. And I think a lot of my personal life has really suffered because of that. When you're very lonely, you literally put all the onus on yourself. It's really hard to put yourself out there, type of thing. And I don't know. I really just want this video to be 15 minutes and it ended up being fucking almost 30. So, I guess the conclusion I'll say for this, if you're feeling lonely, try to do better. And I know it's not that simple, but try not to just accept that being lonely it may be normal to you and maybe something you've accepted, but try to balance it out, because being lonely and isolated is not fun, let me tell you. So yeah, That's really all I have to say.